I don't think, at least for me personally, the purpose here is certainly not to try and get you fired. I think that's important for you to know that. In fact, for me, it's not even to drill down into the details of your car detailing business hobby, the audio, video. As objectionable as I may find that at a personal level, I think it was a bad decision by you and some bad judgment. At some point, I think I have to recognize that Congress cannot be in the job of micromanaging the CIO position and vis-a-vis ethics at the Department of Education. Might not like it, doesn't make us happy, but really not our business. You start screwing around, Mr. King, it's a different story. But the folks who work for you, I think we have to rely on the process. The OIG gets involved, the ethics gets involved, and we may disagree with the decision, but that's not the purpose here, is to second guess, at least in my mind, whether or not what you did was right or wrong, or whether or not the process of examining was right or wrong. The purpose of being here is what you're responsible for doing for the folks that we represent, and the taxpayers, and the 139 million people whose records you hold. And as we discussed last time, Dr. Harris, when you were here in November, it's not just the ordinary stuff that I give to Target. You have my bank accounts. That's a whole different level of serious than when I swipe my card at the gas station or I buy something at Target. So I don't want us to get distracted on whether or not it was a business or a hobby or you reported on your tax returns and lose in that minutia the fact that this is really dangerous stuff when it goes into the wrong hands. So I want to pick up with where you and I were, Dr. Harris, in November, when you said something that's caught my attention, and we talked about it briefly when you said it wasn't so much a money issue that you had in dealing with cyber at the DOE as it was getting the talent. And you said, look, we're a little tiny agency, it's not very sexy, we can't get the people. And I asked you, I said, look, we have other good people in other areas of the federal government, in other silos. It is sexy. The Air Force, for example, does a tremendous job on this. DOD regularly does a really good job on this. There are other agencies. What have you been able to do since November, Dr. Harris, to try and draw on the resources available to us as a federal government in order to help protect the data of these taxpayers?
Very, very pleased to announce that in addition to becoming a little more aggressive in bringing in our own talent, we have taken advantage of what digital services has to offer. They have been in a number of times to talk to us about best practices and help us strategize. We are moving forward with DHS for the CDM Phase 2 project that will allow us to put more sensors and collect more data across our ecosystem than we've ever been able to do before. So I think from that perspective—
collecting data, again, this is not my area of expertise. I'm more worried about you securing the data than collecting it. So tell me why that's relevant.
Collecting it will allow us to secure it.
Okay.
It's in real time that we're able to use our network access control and our data loss prevention that will actually, for example, stop you from sending unencrypted and specifically PII information outside of our ecosystem, as well as stopping folks from coming inside.
Mr. King, what have you done since we were here last? I don't think you were here in November. I may be wrong, but what have we done in the last couple of months to make sure that we get access to the talent that you need to do this job properly?
We have added a new chief security officer on the education department side who, to your point about military experience, is a retired military officer who comes to us from the Department of Defense and brings expertise on cybersecurity. We are in the process of adding additional talent on the federal student aid side, but we have to acknowledge this is a challenge across the federal government of recruiting adequate talent, and we need to continue to invest as a country in STEM education so that we have the prepared cybersecurity workforce not only that the government needs, but that the private sector needs as well.
Dr. King, I'll close by saying this. While we're not here to deal with the details of your personal situation within the agency, to the extent your activity impacts on what people feel about working at the DOE, it certainly is relevant. And that's why I think you're getting all the attention today, and rightfully so. But let me close by saying this. While we're not here today to have anybody fired, at least in my mind, lose the data, and it's a different story. Start losing people's bank records, and as unpleasant as this hearing may have been, it's going to be a whole different level of unpleasant. Lose the data, and the next explanation you're going to have to give to this committee is why you shouldn't be fired. That's as plain as I can put it. So as reasonable as I'm trying to be today in laying out for you what we're not here to try to accomplish, you can expect me and others to be fairly unreasonable with our patients next time if you lose the stuff. So please, don't lose it. Thanks.
Thank the gentleman. Now recognize